Hey, what up, y'all? What it do? What it do? Once again, we back once again. It's good to see y'all. I've been doing these back to backs, given the date of this live. So just did a live yesterday, doing a live tonight, and doing a live tomorrow night. So I'm just waiting for Sunrise Hoodie to get in the building, and he's here, y'all. So um, give me a second and we'll warm up right quick. Give me a couple of seconds while I get him in the building, y'all. All right, y'all. We back up in the building once again. So finna go live here and finna get on in here. Me and Sunrise Hoodie, we finna chop it up with y'all. So have your popcorn out, have your nachos and your soda, you know? Yeah, so here we go. Let's chop it up. All right, man. I'm back. Yes, indeed. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess there's like that slight delay. Yeah, man.
There's just a little jumbled up action there to start. Yeah, right.
Cool. I guess like usual, I'm gonna let me see, make sure with everybody. Hey, what's good, Brown Do Life? Just give me a one if you can hear me in Sunrise Hoodie pretty good. Just put a one in the chat for me if you don't mind, fam. Yeah, man. But yeah, this one's a doozy, man. Like I think, since we last talked, man, it's been picking up traction. And I guess I noticed when you brought it up to your channel, you're already getting like what, about 3 or 4K over there right now with the views?
I mean, yeah, at most I'd say somewhere around a couple thousand usually per video. So hopefully it's bringing some people over.
Yeah, man. I think that's pretty good for a relatively new idea like this, which I think there's nothing new up under the sun as this written. But I think for today's times, we're just now starting to be aware of something like this exists.
Yeah, I mean, it is. That's why it's important to make the content, though, is like it's good to reiterate things. It's good to always make the reminders. I agree with you. There's nothing new under the sun. Anything that I posted a comment about or a video about, rather, is still been touched on before, but it's good to rehash.
Exactly. That rehash is very important. It's like passing down heirlooms and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. It's knowledge that we don't have information, or knowledge that we don't have access to in other areas of the world right now in society. There is another place to get this education. So got to always continue to push forward and make the content.
Cool. Yeah, for sure, man. That's facts. And hey, thanks, Brown Do Life. He gave us a one. So we finna go right ahead.
Great.
Yeah. Let me see. Kind of want to Let me see where I want to go with this here. Yeah, man. So basically, I guess kind of have you, before we get started, I guess, have you thought more about the origins of the Black Knight kind of, I guess ever since then? Have you kind of contemplated what that could have been like?
I mean, in terms of what it would have been like, why the reason of it, the reason it was created.
Yeah, all of the above. The reason, maybe some of the things that was like the catalyst of the Black Knight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think if you think just in a micro sense, why there is a guy that acts as a Black Knight would, I think he just realizes that he's a part of a game. You know, he's playing a game, and he doesn't want to be a part of that game because the game is disrespecting him. You know, he doesn't want to be in that anymore. And anybody that leaves that game is going to be kind of considered a little bit of a renegade, which is kind of the Black Knight identity. I think that's kind of one of the catalysts that we have today. A lot of guys that would identify as that type of archetype would say the same.
So I guess similar to the monks, but maybe more or less he's still out there in the field, but he's kind of like, I guess, getting through the field, whereas the monk got away from the field. But so it's I guess to a certain extent one can use that similar analogy to, I don't know if you've seen what's that? Oh, gosh. It's the Gladiator movie with Russell Crowe. I can't think of the name of the movie.
Gladiator, yeah.
Yeah, but
his name is.
But he was just fighting in the Coliseum, and he just looked at everybody and said, I don't want to do this, man. Like,
yeah, he said, yeah, and he's, are you not entertained by what I'm doing? Like, how much more do you want me to do? Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. So there's, I guess, you know, of course, with the monks, because, you know, of course, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but like I see, like with your mindset, you definitely are getting close to monk status. You know what I'm saying? You're more monk than knight, but it's like with the Black Knight, it still has that dual mindset of being in the field, though not of the field, but also wanting to try to get away from the field as much as possible, like a monk.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are characteristics of both. They each possess characteristics of each other. You know, a Black Knight is whatever it is, he gets something out of being in the field, or out of, you know, being in the line of fire, so to speak, whereas the monk is satisfied with not. So I mean, it's really just, that's the only difference. So I think they have different desires and they go different ways because of it, but they both, you know, I think ultimately they have kind of a common ground that they can agree on in terms of like life philosophy. It's a similar philosophy, I think.
I think so too. I agree with you, most definitely. I actually, I had realized prior to this live, and maybe those, I think people could have just jumped in this live stream so they wouldn't know the difference. But I actually changed the title of our live stream slightly because I realized that, of course, this live was going to be talking about the origins, but I had put in the title White Knight versus Black Knight. And I'm like, oh, we're ahead of ourselves right now. So, yeah. But it's funny, but the thumbnail I still think applies because the thumbnails in this particular thumbnail shows the White Knight and the Black Knight, something that basically you would probably say looks similar to a certain Black Knight archetype. I got both of them standing next to each other, and I think it goes along the line of what you said in the previous live stream. Maybe one of the origins of the Black Knight could have been he was once a White Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty rare, probably, for the Black Knight to just be that way naturally. I think there's probably some refinement. I think that, you know, in terms of MGTOW, every guy that comes to this philosophy has has some kind of testimony or backstory to why they're pursuing this information. You know, some more impactful than others, but it's usually because they were living a certain way before.
I agree. I mean, I don't think, and that's something probably to really bring up with the origins. I don't think there's not really a pure Black Knight. Like, and I guess, you know, the default to that would be, I guess, if you looked in scripture where it says we all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. But let's red pill that scripture. Let's say, for we all have simped and fell short of the glory of God.
yeah, that's also true, right? I think it's important to remember. That's funny. It's important to remember, though. Well, at least for me, as I make content, and you know, whatever you want to say it, I've been off the dating game and in that world for a couple of years now, 3 years, 4 years, and it's easy to be like, oh, you know, I'm just holier than thou, but no, I was a simp. I was simping left and right too at one point, right?
Yeah.
So it's always important to remember what your roots are. You know, like, I'm not going to get carried away here and think that I'm not part of that group either.
Right. And I guess that's a important. I won't say necessarily paradoxical type of way of thinking, but I guess it's important for one to know, like, yeah, I mean, some Black Knights are more refined than others, but nevertheless, there still was that refinement that had to take place. Like, once you realize you wanted to get away from the current establishment, the current kingdom or gynocracy, or however way you want to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's they all have different. They do have different DNA. They do have a different root. They do have a different cause. Some of them are going to be a little bit more vigilantes than others. Some of them are going to be more altruistic. Some of them are going to be more monk-like. I mean, they have different personalities too. That's the thing that's important to remember in MGTOW also, is we all kind of have different personalities and different ways of going about it, different concepts of what ghosting is. Really all of these things.
Yeah, that's very true. And one thing I wanted to bring up, because there's really like this, the whole origins of the Black Knight, I think really is like a very deep rabbit hole. But one thing you brought up that was very important: the gynocracy did not make the armor of the Black Knight. Mm-hmm. So where did this armor come from? Where did his shield and his sword come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the gynocracy makes the White Knight's armor, that's for sure. It makes it, and it praises those that use it. The Black Knight armor is I think is made out of just getting a man coming back to reality and getting in touch with who he was supposed to be and destined to be in a man's natural state. You know, I think it's supposed to emerge in a man, but with how feminized and androgynous the world is,
right?
When a man has the Black Knight armor on, it becomes it sticks out because, like I just said, the world's an androgynous world now.
Yeah. So I guess one could probably say that, like, maybe just metaphorically speaking, maybe this could more or less be like he looked at the kingdom's armor per se, or the gynocracy's armor, and he realized it's best for him to be more organic. Maybe certain things he didn't need, you know. So it was about, like you said, just making things more straightforward, more even if it's a little bit like I guess more organic, you know what I mean? Like just only what's necessary. This is how it was forged. So I guess, like you know, like we said prior in the previous live, like with a lot of the spirituality and things. So I guess one could equate that to, like, I mean, who knows? Like the Black Knight armor, in many ways, I would say it's very mysterious, you know, because how can a man on his own, I would say, come to the knowledge of wanting to know something different and do something different outside of the gynocracy. You didn't get it from them. So where does this source come from? One could argue that, like you said, it goes back to maybe he had to make a conversion. Maybe somebody inspired him, kind of like we've inspired each other to make a conversion. So maybe someone offered him armor, to a certain extent, but still, like, how did they make that armor themselves? So it's kind of, I would say, maybe a mixture of the passing down of armor, but also like the forging techniques. It has a mysterious thing about it, because I notice even in this space here, as a lot of us are converted from White Knight, we do learn from each other, but at the same time, a lot of us do come up with new concepts, kind of like tonight. So that's mysterious to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chicken and an egg thing, right? It's like, what came first? Where did the buck stop? And there was this education, right, of the Black Knight and how to act. And where did that begin? I was listening to a video today, and it was talking about it was not a MGTOW video, but it was talking about finances and sources of income. And we've been raised in a society that teaches us how to generate earned income. But there's really no education on passive income or business income, other forms of income that you can create for your life, residual income. There's really no education on that.
Nope.
And if you can embrace those things, then you can, be a little bit freer, and you can have less reliance on somebody else creating a job for you. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to the Black Knight. I mean, it's when you embrace that lifestyle and you break away from wearing the gynocracy's armor that is made for you, people begin to question you a little bit, and they think that, maybe you're a little dangerous, a little too dangerous, maybe a little bit unpredictable, unstable. They don't really understand why you're not playing the game or using what's in front of you. They don't understand the freedom that's offered, and there's a lot of freedom in the Black Knight's armor as well, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
There's a lot of freedom in living that way.
Right.
And so it's interesting. Like, how do you have to have some kind of drive or realization that the way you're doing things is not working, right?
Yeah.
Like, the way you're doing things is not working. So you could apply that to the income situation. Man, slaving away at this job is not working. I'm not getting ahead. I need to do something else. And you can apply it to the Black Knight, White Knight thing. Being a White Knight is not working. It's like the movie, I think, Hitch, where I thought Kevin James is going after this one really wealthy woman. I don't remember her name, but she's like, one of the main protagonists. And they're all working for her, and she needs a pen, and there's like 8 guys around her, and he jumps in front of all of them and gives her a pen. She doesn't even look back to see where the pen is, coming from.
Man.
And it's what a White Knight is. She doesn't even know you're doing something, and then when do you wake up and see, I got to put a different coat of armor on, I got to act a different way, and
right.
If she comes back to you later when you've changed, she might not recognize you.
Right. Well, and it's funny because there was a lot more I think I want to add to maybe some of the armor origins, and we'll talk more about that as we continue on here. But like, since you brought up a lot about the opposite sex per se, one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's amongst some Christians or whoever, but there's a lot of entitled wives out here who, in these apocalyptic times, I would say per se, a lot of them expect to be taken care of and looked out for in the woods. Like, I've seen tweets like, yeah, my hubby, he knows how to make a house. He knows how to hunt. He knows how to fish. I'm good. God bless us.
Yeah. He's gonna build us some little bunker. He's gonna provide all the provisions. Yep, I've seen those tweets too. He's gonna build us a table. He's gonna build us this, that, and the other.
Yeah. So I think to a certain extent, one of the origins of the Black Knight could be more or less he realizes that, yo, I'm in a crappy marriage with a woman that doesn't appreciate me, and I'd be better off by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it might come to that too, but it also, you just think of those situations and you're like, man, it's gotten to the point where, wow, like I'm really actually just valued for the resources that I can provide and the assets that I bring with because of my skills, which is how things work. And some guys are okay with that. But I think what it is that a lot of guys don't know is that, they're not being loved in the same way that they're loving them.
Right.
And that is one of the big red pills that kind of brings them over to the Black Knight side, because you're acting more out of instinct and how you naturally would. And you're seeing the world through that lens, the Black Knight lens and the White Knight lens. You're totally, you are feminized.
Yeah.
And you're to think that they're loving me the same way I love them. It's not the case. They love you because you can go hunt for them in a time of need.
Right. And one could even argue that, okay, that's the case. One of those guys, he just took off his White Knight armor and left the kingdom. What about those who were banished from the kingdom? I guess left out to die, left out to be pretty much killed off by hostile neighbors, but yet somehow he found the way to make it by himself, somehow miraculously.
Yeah, it's there's definitely no praise for him, right? There's no praise. The interesting thing is, I feel like in those situations, like there's no praise from women, but there's praise from other men.
Yes.
Like other men are like, wow, I really saw what he had to do, and I saw that he was not fighting to earn a woman's respect and to earn her attention. He was fighting to survive. And that's something I think that's the first thing that goes through every man's mind as they live their day. It's, how am I going to survive, and how am I going to make a niche for myself and make it through? And it's amplified if you're exiled, So like a man would be like, man, that's a guy that I look up to. That's a,
yeah,
that's a ranger. That's kind of a cowboy that I look up to, but he's not going to get any respect from her because he is either a vigilante or he's a nomad, and that doesn't bode well for domestic life.
No.
And so he's not going to get any attention.
And it's funny because I think like at the time when in the Bible it says, I'll make a helpmeet for you. I believe it was during the time that Adam was pretty much in that foraging stage, in that nomadic stage. So really, she should be actually helping you. If she's going to be there with you, she should be actually helping you. But yeah, in this day and age, no, like you said, they just more or less want to be taken care of in the midst of foraging and being nomadic and things like that. So that would hold a man down.
Mm-hmm. And in a way, it could be a blessing for some men that are exiled, because a domestic life for a man can end up being more dangerous than an exiled life for a man. I mean, why do you think there are so many men that romanticize the idea of being a pirate?
Yeah.
Because it's a free life, and versus if you're living that domestic life, which is often the White Knight life, then you are chained to the structures and the conveniences of the modern world. And so those things are nice for your family, they're nice for your kids, and they're nice for your wife, but they're not nice for you, because they mean that you need the state, that you need all these other benefits, that you need good school districts, that you need a good 401k, that you need all these other things. Whereas a pirate just needs food on the table at the end of the day.
Right. This is an interesting side note, and not that I really agree with this personally, but they did the sculpture of the Crazy Horse Monument. But the interesting thing was, like, the guy that started it, he like met some chick, I guess, and she saw him building this Crazy Horse Monument, and then she wanted to help him. And so that's kind of how it started there. So he was like, well, we can't build this monument by ourselves. We need an extra hand. So that's why they started having kids, literally, was so they could have the extra hands to build the monument.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is, and that's how it's been, especially through agrarian societies. You know, you needed to have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids because, you know, 30% of the children that you had, you know, resulted in a death usually within the first couple of years, you know, and so you needed to have a lot of kids. You needed to have a lot of children and hands on deck to help you out. Obviously, things have changed, but you are you are reliant on, you know, if you are a breadwinner and you are taking care of that family, you are reliant on a nice suburban nesting community and all the benefits from your job and stability and savings and birthday presents and keeping up with the Joneses if you're living in the modern, you know, Western culture that we live in.
Yeah.
You have all those other things, you know, and so it's not based off of function anymore. And a lot of guys see that and they're like, you know, I'm not playing this game anymore. And so I'll leave that for my white knight days, but you know, I'm nobody's mule.
Yeah, that's why I've been shying away from a lot of this game talk. Like a lot of guys just been talking about game, and usually like the people that I have known growing up, like those that were really involved in on the let's say on the pimp juice side of things. They literally kept the game separate from life. They didn't see life as a game. They really kept game and life separate, you know. And because if it wasn't for all these city lights, cars, and money and all that, it'd just be about life, you know. And and so to me, I've been thinking like, okay, when it comes down to like this idea of they're talking about you know, these hypergamous chicks talking about, actually we already made it clear there wouldn't be hypergamy if this society as it is existed, but if it didn't exist. But like you know, when they use the word provider, you know, I've been rehashtagging that, you know, as and I've been saying it's just about sharing, not providing, because if it wasn't for society, they would need to rely on somebody. Like, you know, okay, the white knight, we've made it clear he's probably not necessarily the ideal front line. I mean, he's going to be there for as strong as his armor is, but a black knight actually would know how to hunt. And so, but they're expecting the black knight to be the provider when really a black knight in that situation would more or less just share, you know, and it's only for someone that's not trying to hold him down, or if he deems them worthy. You know, he's putting his life out there on the line just to hunt for himself, let alone for another mouth. So it's like, you know, you got to think it back in those days, probably the knights, you know, you not only had to worry about the prey, you also had to worry about enemy fire, you know, while you're trying to hunt. So all for a damsel, really?
Yeah, you know, and that makes a whole other level of gravity to your situation, you know, when you put it that way, which is so far removed from what we know in the modern world, where, you know, both of those things are on a platter for us. We've got food in the grocery store everywhere.
Yep.
And we have you know, unlimited mating options pretty much, you know, with travel and with the internet. So it's like, but at that time you're a knight and you're in the field, you know, you don't really have quick communication with anything in the world. You have a scout, and that's your best form of communication. And, you know, he's got to go by horseback. It's going to take a while. And then the other thing is you're dealing with enemies that are trying to kill you. And then you're dealing with hunting and trying to gather food. And if you're hunting animals, those things could be trying to kill you too. So it's like, you know, you've got two potential enemies there. You're not going to have you're gonna have no patience for a damsel. It's irrational to think that you would have any time of day to think that I'm going to put myself through the struggles that a lot of the modern men do.
Right. And here's an interesting question. Is shiny armor effective when you're out there by yourself without a kingdom?
I mean, no, you don't want to be seen, because
exactly.
if you're without any support, you want to be as ghosted as possible. It's just like ghosting for MGTOW today. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so that's kind of like when I did that side-by-side thumbnail, you know, you can see like, you'll check it out on the replay. You'll see like, yeah, the Black Knight's armor is more organic looking versus the White Knight's armor is, you know, wonderfully engineered and shiny and, you know, with the gold it has golden rivets on it and stuff. Like, no, that'll make you a marked person out there, you know. So
yeah, it's easy armor to get. You know, it's armor made for you. It's armor made probably not according to your specific specifications and your needs, but it's the armor that's in front of you. You know, it's like fast food. And if you go out there and you think you're going to be prepared in it, you're not going to be prepared. And, you know, that's why a lot of guys that go on their own, they want to fade into the background. They don't want to make noise because, you know, the more noise that they make, the more that they're a target, because society loves to target the solo man. Still does.
And it's interesting you brought up
the plow horse.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, just get back on the plow horse. That's what they want, you know, get back on it.
Right, facts. I was going to say, you brought up the interesting part of like the specific needs, even if it's not specified to you. And that automatically had me thinking about male mother need. Chances are a lot of this gynocentric society, like you said, it makes white knights, not just make them as far as manufacturing them, but it makes boys into white knights. And I don't even think it matters what color. I think the color aspect just represents the degree of the white knighting that you endure. But I think ultimately in any gynocentric society, every boy is being made, or they make you be a white knight. You can't think really as like a boy. You got to think like their boy, you know. And but yet you don't know how to hunt. You don't know how to walk quietly in the woods, as you just said, you know. Like they're not really taught these things, you know.
Yeah, and this is the little bit of resentment. The resentment that comes into the picture for the Black Knight. I would say if you think of a Black Knight, he's got a little bit of an attitude. You know, any type of vigilante comes off like they have a little bit of an ego or an attitude, and that's because they feel a little bit slighted by the lack of education, or maybe the negligence that they've received from you know, the society they grew up in, and kind of the disposability is they have this kind of chip on their shoulder because of it. You know, they have this ruggedness to their personality, and it kind of rubs some people the wrong way. So, you know, why don't you be a little softer? You know, is how it goes with them.
The chip on his shoulder, that's an interesting aspect too, because that could mean, like you said in a previous live stream, how a lot of these knights are easily discarded. Like, you know, because they expect, like, you're good, old Johnny. You're supposed to do these things, but we can make fun of you if we think you didn't do things correctly. Ha 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 ha! Look at you. And I think, yeah, that's kind of similar to them shooting your shoulder, causing a chip in it. You know, and you know, maybe some of these white knights never get to be the full white knight that they're supposed to be. Some of them were just target practice, you know, in this gynocentric society, I think.
Yeah, it's once again, it goes back to what I was saying about economics and finances and living an easier life. There's really no sales pitch out there that's given to it. I've had other ones recently about the education system and just about what's taught and what's endorsed. And it's, this is what creates the rugged armor, is a lot of guys trying to catch up, and they're getting scratches on that armor, trying to make up for lost time in the white armor.
That's deep. That's deep. Yeah, I could see that too. And I guess let me see kind of where we're at. We're at the half-hour mark here. So there's some more interesting points that, I'm gonna bring up here, and then we definitely gonna be doing like we gonna definitely have to do a trilogy to this one, because I think the trilogy is just, it's gonna be the ultimate, like because I guess more or less what we've discussed has been, it seems more of a quiet origin to the Black Knight, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how it is. If you look at MGTOW too, like there's really no, I'm trying to think of the history of these things and how they've come about, and how the channels on YouTube emerged, and who these people came, how they came about. And a lot of the original content was really very philosophical content, very quiet. It was kind of very monk-like. And it just kind of emerged slowly and continued to, make a presence on YouTube. And it was just welling up little by little. It was like a little avalanche waiting to happen,
Yes.
A little bit, more snow came year after year, and it finally got a little bit of disruption, and there were some vibrations, and it started to fall. I mean, it's really hard to pinpoint what the origin is of something like this when it's just been brewing for, at least in the Western world, for 60, 70 years now.
Yes. It kind of similar in the medieval days. Let's say if there was a corrupt kingdom or whatever that did away with the potential Black Knights, just casting guys aside that didn't want to stand for the kingdom. And so, they go back to their palaces, they celebrate, they drink, they get married, they be married, drink and married, eat all the big hogs you want, eat all the grapes and whatever, and celebrating and dancing. And then everybody's in a slumber. They try to go to sleep. But meanwhile, Black Knight is coming their way slowly but surely,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think it's a Black Knight sitting around the table and realizing, I'm not really satisfied with this this life that I'm looking at, that I should be chasing. Apparently, the White Knight life. Like, this isn't really resonating with me. I don't know what's going on here.
Yes.
I think that's part of it, and they just kind of sit and reflect, and they're like, this does not suit my fancy. And
wow.
It takes one, and then it takes a mentor, and that's why it's so important to have a mentor. And some of the greatest people in the world have come from mentors that have given them little nuggets of information that they've held on to.
Yes. So I guess you could probably argue there's three different ways that the Black Knight could have had its origins. One could have been, I guess, kind of based on what we've discussed. One could have been persecution. The second one could have been, I guess, pondering, in the midst of the gynocracy. And then I guess what the third one could be, like more of a peer, more of a protege to maybe another Black Knight out there, or maybe a monk, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are, and I think that some monks have transitioned from that. It's kind of that sage, Mr. Miyagi guy. He's the Obi-Wan. He was in the field, he was fighting, and I think it's a little bit necessary to have some of that field experience before becoming kind of that Black Knight trainer. But I think that's I think that you will see some more of that. I think you're going to see some more like communities and mentorships and group programs for men to be taught and instructed and guided on a certain path towards that lifestyle. That, now I think you're going to see more of that, and you're going to see some older guys stepping out and doing that, because if they're open, if their ears open, and amongst the youth, they're going to listen, because there's a lot of disillusioned men right now that are young.
Man, that's deep. And it makes you wonder, what if there was a generation gap? Meaning that, I guess, as the gynocracy was starting to fall, what if the original, there could have been probably some original set of Black Knights that, like you said, were previous in the field, but then they transitioned over to monks. And maybe they just try to get most guys to be monks with them, be like more in a monastery. So maybe there was like this gap, this generation gap, where there wasn't a need for a Black Knight, but maybe this new generation coming up realizes that there's too many white knights. Maybe some of them have to bring up a new crop of Black Knights. I don't know. It's just interesting, like when you really think about the origins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's always kind of a myth behind the origin too. Everybody has their stories about it, and especially if you have people on the outside of the community that listens to the Black Knight, or listens to what they say, or actually think he knows what he's doing. If you have people on the outside, they're always like probably making up some stories here or there, some fables that kind of are more disparaging. They probably are more like gonna go towards the side of, oh, that guy is damaged, or that guy is dangerous. It's not that guy is wise and that guy is helpful and equipped.
Oh, and then the funny thing is, even though they say all this bad stuff about the Black Knight, they pretty much puff up the White Knight. They boost his morale, even though oftentimes they throw him under the bus. Whereas they talk bad about the Black Knight, but deep down inside, it's like they have this sense of, I don't know, revere. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everybody wants to be a lot more people revere that archetype than they express, though, because if you think of a situation where you've got a Black Knight over, that type of mentality, that guy, that energy, and he is he's heading over to one of his buddy's house, and he's got a girlfriend, and he admires parts of that single Black Knight guy. I guess he doesn't need to be single, but he admires those parts of him that are rugged, that are natural, that are like, that does what he wants, that has kind of say over.
Yes,
it's alpha too. He admires that, and if she sees that he admires that, and she's going to feel a little bit threatened. It's always interesting when that energy gets into those situations.
Man. And what I was thinking in this latter days of Babylon, you'll have the White Knights that are patrolling, because they're just more or less patrolling to me. The Black Knights are the ones actually out there fighting or wandering. And then you'll have this other type of person that's pillaging. Now, we kind of thought, and maybe you may have thought about this too, like, okay, because some people, what happened was when you left, more so, there were some people that thought Black Knight was automatically connected to Black Pill. And I said, he's Red Pill, but there could be an idea of a Black Pill Black Knight. But then I thought to myself, nah, this Black Pill person is more than likely an imposter, because I did kind of share this idea with other panels. And so they were like, well, the Black Knight is actually the bad boy. Some of them said that.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so, just not to take away from the perspective. So I'd say, maybe he does have on the Black Knight armor, but he doesn't have the same fortitude, morale, or mindset as the actual Black Knight. So I see this Black Pill type of person as more of a shapeshifter instead.
Yeah, I think that's funny. I think I could see that, though. I could see that Black Knight archetype being described as the bad boy, but I think a lot of times the bad boy is actually just, at least how mainstream uses the word, or I think it's probably an overused word. So I think it's really just a guy that knows what he wants and isn't dissuaded by other external things, which is, if you are dissuaded, it's a very beta perspective and a way of going about your life, and that's looked down upon, obviously. So, yeah, how I would say it is, I could see them being compared as the bad boy, but also the black pill. The black pill being an imposter, I think sometimes there are guys that would identify as being black pill because it kind of gives you attention a little bit. Because it's like a woe is me mentality. It's like a nihilism. And I think that there is value in, really being cynical with some things and thinking deeply about the purpose. But sometimes it is a little bit of, I want attention for these ills that I'm experiencing. I'm gonna just revel in it, which I don't know if you were intending to mean, but that's kind of how I saw it.
Oh, no, it makes sense because, just think the white knight is actually the polar opposite of that extreme. On the blue pill side, they want some attention too. And so with the black knight, with the black pill, like the shapeshifter, he basically made up in his mind he'd rather look more like the black knight than the white knight, even though he doesn't have the same red pill motive or mindset. And who knows, the origins of the shapeshifter is an interesting thing too, because even if you think about the bad boy, in many ways he is a shapeshifter. He appears as a man, but he doesn't really go about as a man. These females find out the hard way down the road. Always have the statement. I used to say that, okay, we know about them hitting the wall, but who was in the passenger? Who was in the car with them?
Yeah, it's funny, and I think that's why a lot of women are lured to that type of man, is because it's the shape-shifting ability, the ability to rule multiple realms, to the business realm, let's say, but also, to be this adventure guy that can bench 350 pounds and, has AK-47, kind of these aphrodisiac, ultra alpha male qualities, and being able to shift between one and the other. I think shape shifting also has another meaning to it. I think there's a positive shape shifting, which is I'm just going to blend in to whatever is around me right now, so I don't have to get targeted, which is more the ghosting side. But for some men, it's because I want to dominate a sphere and gain a woman's attention.
Right. But I would say, even in that sense of the pure essence of a black knight, he's just more or less camouflaging versus the shape shifting. So he just kind of like the predator. He just knew how to basically look like his surroundings. Whereas with a shapeshifter, he's just going to appear as whatever. He's going to look like the Black Knight. He's going to look like whatever. He's just he instead of actually trying to ghost, he tries to look like another host. So so this shape shifting goes very deep with really this whole quintessential bad boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of women have been burned by it too, but a lot of it goes both ways. It comes a little bit, I think how they would criticize it is I thought he was this way, but he didn't treat me right. Well, you were lusting after him. That's just the way it was. That you were lusting after that power as an aphrodisiac. Which that's the thing with the Black Knight though too, is that the Black Knight is actually going to be more attractive to women because it's a man that's on his own.
Yes.
A man that's doing his own thing, and he's clearly established that he can handle his business.
Yes.
And so like while he doesn't want attention and attraction, he ends up getting it kind of obtusely because of it.
Yes. But see, I guess it also ties back in with the bad boy aspect too, because they would automatically be like, I've met guys like you before that are like that. But then you're like, no, those were imposters. It's like a lot of these females got to understand, like, what I'm saying? Those who weren't like real women, they got to understand, like, yo, no, the bad boy was imitating me. You know what I mean? Like, as far as the Black Knight, there is this ghosting aura, like this whole type of this different type of persona, but like more or less the bad boy just kind of takes certain aspects of that, but he kind of makes it to the way like he wants for his own motives in order to deceive. And so, like you said, when a lot of them get burned and they actually meet like a pure Black Knight, it's easy to accuse the Black Knight of being a bad boy, up front, just without her really knowing how red pill he really was.
Yeah, and in those situations, I think that guy, the red pill guy, is like, well, I'm clearly steering away from this situation. She's off her rocker and it's going to be nothing but trouble for me. So I'm just going to go away. It's going to be self-protective at that point. If he's going to be looped into being just like every other bad boy that she's continually entertained. And there's going to be no patience for it.
Exactly. And it's funny because like one of my moderators, brown dude, he made some good comments about how the media is the one that creates the white knights, and also possibly this the bad boy, the shapeshifter. The media has created all these narratives, and I can see that. Yeah, I can see that because, like it's romanticized. It's been romanticized, and a lot of them come with this expectation that if you kind of look the part, maybe not. I won't say that you look the part. A lot of them just expect that. They expect you to either be the white knight or the bad boy.
Yeah, it's yeah, and if you're in between, you are you might be boring, you might be not useful to anybody, or whatever it may be, but they do make both because they want both to exist. The reason is they want you to be a white knight at the end of the day, so that you can be a worker mule and that you can do things for her and take care of her and buy the Russell Stovers. They want you to be the white knight ultimately at the end of the day, but they want you to be a bad boy too, because they know that one, the traits of being a bad boy will allow you to, succeed and add to society and add to the economy. But, it also is an aphrodisiac. It's also exciting to, to look at and to be entertained by. That's why you get the dad bod, and then you get the dad bad white knight, and then you get the guy, the supermodel guy, the Black Knight guy, the bad boy,
or the thug look. They like that thug love type of look. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, it's all archetypes that are easy to market.
Yeah, that in between phase but I think it's the purest phase. Like, I guess if I could get a tattoo, I would just say I am pure, because the white knight and the shapeshifter are like on the polar ends of the straight line, the straight and narrow path that the Black Knight is following.
Yeah, it's at a certain point you realize what both of those are, and you see that they're at odds, but they're also two archetypes that society is making room for, because ultimately they're about attracting women.
Yes.
And ultimately about materialism. that's where society makes room for both those archetypes, but it does not make room for the MGTOW archetype because it's immaterial and it's not about attracting women.
Right. So I guess one could argue that the Black Knight is probably represents the second transition out of everything. You know, he's because he could have transitioned from White Knight to Black Knight, but now he probably is taking a step further in his transition to monk mode as time goes on, I would say. You know, I don't know if some Black Knights remain Black Knights or if some of them take it that final step further to just be monk. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on what stage of life they're in. You know, I think it depends on where they're at in age, where they're at in drive, where they're at in assets, how public they have to be with their lives. It really comes down to that. You know, a lot of men just have freedom. And if they have freedom, I'm just going to bypass kind of living as a Black Knight guy. I'm going to be a monk, you know?
Right.
That's what I'm going to do, you know? And so it's, it does vary, I think. Yeah, it does vary. And I think it also goes to personality for sure as well.
That's definitely true. And it makes you wonder, because I have to, maybe we could say this for our trilogy, but I don't know if knights had extensive journals or if monks did, or if it's the other way around. I would have to look at this, because as far as philosophies and things like that, but I know for sure, like, philosophers are pretty much in that monk mode per se. But I guess, like,
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are, because you know, it's what matters most is between my ears. You know, if that's the case, you're gonna live a more monk life. You know, and it's like, well, I don't need to go out and get other things that are outside of my ears. I'm just gonna put down what's in my head on a piece of paper. I'm gonna philosophize. Yeah.
Right. And I guess one could argue that there is a certain extent of knights keeping logs. For sure, on the Asian side of things, or the Orient side, you know, no pun intended for anybody out there, but with the samurais and things like that, you know, because they were about as close as it gets to what a knight is as well, and maybe some of the battalion of Genghis Khan, you know, but see, with Genghis Khan represented a kingdom though, so I don't know, but he was a nomadic kingdom. I don't know. This is just a lot that you can break down from this. Like,
yeah.
But I think with samurais, I think, if don't correct me if I'm wrong, I believe some samurais, some of them were kind of by themselves. It just depends, you know. And some of them would keep logs like philosophers as they were transitioning. So yeah, we definitely probably have to check that out. You know, I'll have to look at some sources on that.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting comparison. That kind of did cross my mind, though, thinking about samurais. And I'd have to look in to see if they were, you know, because some of those orders of men in different cultures were not allowed to marry. You know, they, you know, for the sake of their duty as like a samurai, for example. So I have to check that out.
Man, yeah, we definitely the trilogy, man. I think it's going to be very interesting, because like there was so much that I wanted to share here, but I think a lot of it could be applied for the trilogy as far as just this clash, because I think what we're speaking on, and I don't know if this is an actual word, but if I coined it, you could pass around the coin. But I think what we're speaking on is what I would call neo-feudalism.
Yeah, it's there's a little bit of, in terms of the feudal system too, we have a little bit of that emerging, and where men are being placed, you know, I would say the White Knight is going to be placed a little higher than the Black Knight right now too, because
yes,
the utility to society, if that is what you're alluding to.
Yes, they're gonna place them higher. Oh my goodness, yes. Gonna put them on
whatever
bachelorette
can be the
shows.
cog.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, whatever can, be, if you can be a cog in a wheel,
Man,
great, go for it. That's what it is.
that hamster wheel is real, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's a fast wheel.
But yeah, you're gonna see more of them on these bachelorette shows and more of supermodels. They're gonna have that more of an androgynous look to them. Just softer. I just like for my occupation, I helped out a few more customers, and like I had to be around some church leaders, and the guy was so feminine, and he preferred to be around women, per se.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just was like very emotional, but they love that though. A lot of these modern westernized females, they like that emotional guy, So basically,
soft, reactive, and easy to control.
Yes. So I mean, for all we know, these white knights are becoming more cyborgish.
Yeah, they have to be. You got to be a bot. It's bot life, like they said. Like they say, it's robotic and it's not natural and it's programmed. It's been inputted.
Oh man, for them it'd be like, woe be that they find a natural man. This Black Knight guy, this Black Knight represents the natural man. But yeah, even with the bad boy, that's also a robot. Oh my goodness. Jeez. A shape-shifting robot.
Yeah, it is. There's different coding for different times.
Oh man. Well, yeah, man, we'll definitely set up a time for this this trilogy about the Clash, because I think just to kind of give you a little insight, and maybe everybody else there in the crowd, I think the Black Knight, like we said before in the previous live, he has limitless strength due to his inner will, so he's a force to be reckoned with. He'd have one bad piece of armor on him, just from the organic standpoint. But it's like, yeah, he's going to have a battle on his hands. He's going to have a major battle because he has to deal with the White Knight. He has to deal with the gynocracy, and he has to deal with the shapeshifter, the bad boy.
He has nowhere to rest. He's being ushered out by every side of society because it's a truthful way of living. There's no room for that anymore.
Oh, and let's not forget the people that recognize him, like you said before, like they just happen to recognize some of his deeds. Wonder what they're recognizing it for. Are they gonna take advantage of that? Oh, go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, no, they'll yeah, it's possible. It's possible. They're always trying to be taken, or capable people are always trying to be taken advantage of, and so that's another thing that they have to guard themselves from.
And I think this is probably something that the Black Knight had to learn over time. He probably had to learn how to make sure he's very logical in every situation. But maybe
every step matters when you're alone.
Yes.
Every step becomes more important. A small cut on your body becomes a lot more dangerous when you're alone versus when you're in a group.
Exactly. I think I don't know. Before you head out, Sunrise Hoodie, I think somebody asked a question. I think what he says, that means that there's more. Are you guys saying that this means that there's more masculine types of the feminine gender than feminine in this society? Is there more masculine types than feminine of a lot of these females?
I think so today. I think it's you just look around on social media and, you know, masculine women are going to be praised more than feminine women. You know, it's because there needs to be an equilibrium, and society doesn't understand that there needs to be an equilibrium. And it just thinks that everybody is anything that they want to be. But in reality, it's the world's trying to get back to this harmony. And so I would definitely say there's more masculine women than feminine.
Wow, man. Well, man, it's been good chopping it up with you again, man, and we shall touch base again.
Yeah, just let me know and I'll make it there. Thank you again for having me on, and thanks for listening, whoever is out there. And I'll try to get these on my channel sooner than later once I get some more tech behind me.
Oh yeah, man, for sure, man. I think what we're talking about is some epic stuff, man, because we probably gonna have to explore the origins of the white knight to a certain extent. I mean, we know about what it is, but as far as like how some of these terminologies came to be, can probably help with the forging of the black knight, you know, in this time now. So
yeah, certainly too,
man. Well, man, you take it easy, man, and we shall until next time, man. We'll touch base here. So I'll hit you up, man, in a few days or whatever. We'll try to come up with a date and everything for this trilogy.
Perfect. Good talk to you again.
All right, man. You too, likewise, man. All right, everybody. So Sunrise Hoodie just left the building. And I'm going to be back here at this main screen for y'all. So give me a second here while I come back into the building myself. Yes, indeed. It's been good chopping it up with y'all. So there's a lot I wanted to talk about more that I will do for the trilogy, you know. And basically, yeah, I mean, the first live stream of this type was titled The Rise of the Black Knight. And this one is just about the origins of the Black Knight. And the trilogy shall be about the clash of the Black Knight versus the White Knight, you know. So we definitely going to be touching up upon what this clash is like. Any other questions anybody got? Leave it in the chat while I do my closing statements. Otherwise, for those listening to this on the replay, I appreciate your feedback, you know, and leave that in the comments section. With that said, hopefully this live made sense to some. Maybe this live did not make sense to others, but to the others that this live made sense to, feel free to hit that like button, especially those listening to this on the replay. If this is your first time at this channel and you've checked out some of my content and live streams and you happen to like the way yours truly flow, feel free to subscribe, share this live, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you get all of my uploads in real time. And I guess my closing thoughts overall about this night, man, there's a lot more to say as far as how this idea of the Black Knight is starting to formulate. Basically, it's just this idea that there's more to it than just being a monk, especially in the times that we live in now. And you can still be around women or be in the field per se, but be in the field with a directive. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be in the field to shapeshift, you know, to manipulate. You know, you don't have to be in a field like that. You don't have to be behind the walls of the gynocracy of the kingdom, you know. If you do so, you better make sure that your peoples fortify you. Because outside the walls of that palace is a totally different world. And we're seeing that right now. So I'd say, I mean, and I'm not here bashing the gynocracy or Western society or anything. I believe that Western society shall always remain. But there are some people that do want to live differently. And I think that must be respected as well, And I believe there's room in this world for all of us, But I know at the same time, there are others who will try to impose certain things that one thinks should not be imposed upon them. So this could lead to some clashes, as we shall talk about in the trilogy. And until then, just keep in mind, everybody, that no matter what it looks like out there, it's only going to get better from here. And shout out to Brown Do Life for stepping in today as my mod. Likewise with Cool Gen 87 that stopped by. One of my mods, well, both my mods. I got a few more, but a couple of them stopped by here and there, and I appreciate that. What said Brown Do Life? He talks about it's the elites that rule us at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we think is rule. There's a lot to say about that, but really, when it comes down to it, though, Brown Do Life, there's a lot more that we have to say too, as humanity. So rule only goes so far. You know what I'm saying? It's about humanity finally saying that, yo, you're not the only ones out here that breathe this air. So yeah, rule only goes so far. And I think those that are elites know that too. And I think this whole idea of the Black Knight is a perfect example of someone that knows that, things can be a little bit different in this world. And so he goes about living his life a little differently. And so we're going to talk more about that in the next live stream that we do about this Black Knight in the trilogy per se. So with that said, y'all take care. Much love to y'all. And until next time, signing out.